But this guy, his MO, what he did to the girl that he was put in for, what made him a tier 3 sex offender, okay, was detail for detail the same thing that happened to our girl. Girls alone in the name of Jesus. It's my God. I don't understand. I know I look crazy saying that, but it's something here.
All right, did it actually say it's awfully haunted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why would it say that?
I don't know.
I think if you hear Kat in the in that section, that last section, Kat had said, she's trying to describe how she was feeling. She's like, she's like that she might be looking crazy, like how she's feeling and trying to describe it. And then it responded to her, it's awfully haunted there. Like what she's picking up on. That's what I'm thinking.
You can clearly hear it's a male voice.
But it's something here. Now, over the years, as we've experienced firsthand, there is something dark at this location. It doesn't like when we're getting closer to the truth, and incidences occur constantly. We could actually write a book on how many unexplained incidences have occurred during times when we were becoming closer and closer to the truth. As believers in the battle between good and evil, what is here seems to thrive on misery and doesn't like it justified, and has been recognized for over 400 years by the natives, and that means the Native Americans. Now check this out in light of that.
And by the way, Crystal Rowe is asking, if the main suspect is still alive, what/who do you think this is trying to stop you from helping solve this? And Kat and I have a theory on this, and I think, Kat, you should take the lead on this because we were discussing it earlier, but go ahead, you take it this time as to one of the perps that is, we never expected this perp. Oh, Kat's gone.
Oh,
now
of course. Of course, this is.
Yeah, I mean, it's been you 2 times before, and now it's Kat's turn because Kat was going to give us the answer. You see, this is how these spirits love to just jump back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, there's been a lot.
This is the way, the pushbacks that we talk about, and people say sometimes, is it I think it's too first of all, I really don't believe in coincidences. And I think it's too coincidental that every time we try talking about her and giving her justice and bringing out anything, this stuff happens.
Welcome back.
Hi, yeah, go figure, right? But what I wanted to tell you is, where you hear puking and drinking, okay? Said puke. I heard that. Are you ready for this? Because when you see those captions again, Chris and I were going back there, I believe, in regard to her, and there are so many other things that were going on. And I didn't know this, but until the last minute, Chris's friend, who's really good, we've worked with him before, he's like, oh, but, it's coming. I'm like, oh, okay. Because, it was getting really dark around that time. I don't mean color-wise. I mean, it was getting really dark. We were getting a lot of
energy.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know. I said, and then he said he's with this girl. And I said, Chris, were they hanging out before they got here? And he's like, oh, maybe, and they had 1 or 2. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, this is probably not the best place to be. It's right by where that ritual was. This is where we were going, right in that area. Long story short, so it's really out of my control. I didn't know they were coming. You know what I mean? If it were up to me, I would have said, this is probably not the best night. You guys went out. They were not, just so you know, they were not, visibly intoxicated. They might have had 1 or 2, but you have to come in there without a sip in you. You have to come in there at a place like that with all your senses at peak. You do not go, and without personal problems. This is
Right.
not. Do not, and Chris knows this, so they came in, and we're standing there, and we're getting ready to get started. And I start praying about this girl because I got a feeling she's getting hit. You know what I mean? By that thing. And all of a sudden, you ready? So you heard about puking, right? You heard she had a drink. She runs over, and something makes her gravitate over to the area where the rituals are and projectile vomits. Said puke. You cannot go to these places under these circumstances.
And could you please play the second video for our viewers, and that way we can get moving in on this case and see if we can find some answers.
Light went back on. Tell me if the battery charge goes on.
Thank you, Rob.
I pray for your protection so that you can be at peace. We are working on your stories, I promise.
All right, why don't you run us through what was actually going on there?
Okay, so what you hear is you're hearing a lot of help me's, which is what I was telling you about, but you're also hearing a lot of dirtiness about this action, this incident, and kind of like, and that's nothing. It can get disgustingly detailed. You're hearing words like buttocks and penis, and like I said, I have a little bit of a temper when it comes to that. That's disgusting. And it happens around me a lot. I've had another place, upstate with a little girl, and spirit telling me she's hot and laughing, and so you're hearing a lot of that in there. You see the words that are in there, and then it's also mentioning something's telling me that there's hunt that he. Now, I had one of the things I was telling Courtney in the very beginning before we knew who this was is this person was staking the area out, stalking the area out. This didn't just happen. That which turned out to be true. So this person was snooping around. As I mentioned, I think I mentioned on the first show, he originally was peeping through the window. There was a man peeping through the window of her neighbors who also had a 14-year-old daughter and two other sisters. But the father chased him out, and he never reported it. I have captures regarding that. I didn't get a chance to. I'm so mad about it. I was trying to get that up, but I have a lot of captures about the neighbor. Had he reported that, because he wasn't letting his daughters go out alone, we don't know where that would have went. So he had a lot of guilt. He also really wasn't able to give a good description of this guy, which, kind of like that's because that's the first thing I asked Courtney when she found this out. Hey, is there a description of this dude? These girls were in their home. The girl was doing her homework, and he was in her window, dressed in black, in her window. It's the creepiest thing ever. And she's like, Dad, there's a guy in the window. And, Dad did what a real dad does. He came out like, hey, he went to go catch him. He was gonna brawl. The guy just jetted. It's almost like he knew the route.
It comes to mind, Kat, and this is what I'm thinking. If this is something that happened during the 70s. Granted, you and I both were not, spring chickens either.
No.
But to find family that was living in that area, still living there today, and ask them, even if you guys wanted to ask them questions, more than likely they're not even alive anymore. They moved, and there's different families there. So how do you actually? My question would be, how would you guys go about finding out if there were possible witnesses to these things that were going on around this time.
Okay, here's the thing. We're still trying to protect the family. There's a sibling that's still, like, you don't forget these things, and she's still in that, so it's very fragile. So that's where we're trying to go through the law now. And whoever asked earlier if the police are involved, go ahead, Courtney.
I spoke to somebody in homicide.
Okay.
And now that was a trip because, people were passing the buck. Nobody was listening. Finally, I was like, listen, this guy is going to be out. He's out of jail.
Since this podcast, we've made more discoveries regarding this case, and it's created even more of an urgency. Stay tuned for part 3. Okay, let's continue.
And it was just insane. And I was like, what else? But I kept going. And I don't know if it was a voice in my head. I don't know, whatever it was. And it was a push. And then we went away and we did a session on the way home.
Yeah. Where she was found.
Where she was found. So I get home and I don't know why, like this is, I called the PO again. So for a year, I was not able to get in touch with his PO, the alleged suspect. Every time I would call, there was no answer. There was nothing, they don't have answer machines. They don't call back, they can't, I guess maybe not make phone calls back. So they weren't even know I was calling. So I get back and I call and I finally reach somebody and they said, oh, he's been paroled.
What?
I can't even imagine, this whole time trying to work and to get in touch with his PO, to get in touch with maybe the board, look into this case, see what's going on. But no. And he got paroled. Now, we do have a capture, and which also the first capture kind of goes in with this because it says Catherine wants him to go to I forgot what it said. Catherine wants
that
him.
one we just put up. Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I put it in there. Yeah, because it says Catherine wants him locked and then it gets cut off.
That there are many more girls.
So get ready for this because it's not from the Paravox. You're going to get a disembodied voice right next to Courtney as she's about to speak to someone on the live. Check this out.
Thanks, Rob. I'm sorry. Which girl?
I don't know also if you heard after Dumped Me what it said. It was pretty foul. It was quick.
No, it was, I guess, that quick.